Planning to own a golf simulator lounge? You might want to think twice. Not because you shouldn't do it, it's because there's a real gap between what this looks like from the outside and what it actually costs. And that gap is exactly what this video is for. The pitch is one of the more exciting ones on this channel. A fast-growing entertainment format, year-round indoor golf, and a global market headed toward nearly $5 billion by 2030. Here's the number that quietly decides whether this business works. A typical bay runs around 80% utilization on weekends. On weekdays, that same bay commonly sits closer to 40%. That's not a small gap. It's the difference between a business that works and one that doesn't, hiding inside 5 ordinary weekdays most owners don't plan around nearly as carefully as they plan the weekend. So what does it take to fix a Tuesday afternoon when the whole business model quietly depends on it? That's what we're figuring out today. One quick note before the numbers start. Every figure in this video is well researched and checked against multiple sources, but research can still contain honest mistakes, and costs and regulations shift by state, city, and sometimes zip code. Treat these as your benchmark, not a quote for your specific situation. This video is for educational purposes only and is not legal, tax, financial, or business advice. Always do your own research and due diligence before making any business decision. A second note specific to this episode. Equipment and market pricing in this space is moving quickly as the technology matures. Treat these figures as a starting benchmark and verify current pricing directly with simulator vendors before making any decision based on this video. The first cost, the one where the launch monitor alone can rival a car, equipment quality is the single biggest lever on your total buy-in. A single commercial-grade bay, hardware alone, runs $15,000 to $50,000, depending on the launch monitor's accuracy and technology. Premium radar-based systems, the kind used by touring professionals, push that to $45,000 to $90,000 per bay. A full multi-bay build-out, construction and fit-out included, commonly runs $150,000 to $500,000 for a 3 to 5 bay operation. Smaller 2 to 3 bay venues can open for $55,000 to $230,000, while larger venues with full bars and social space run $350,000 to $700,000 or more. Space itself has real requirements. A commercial bay needs roughly 15 feet of width, 20 feet of depth, and at least 10 to 12 feet of ceiling height, more in each direction if you want comfortable full swings and accurate tracking. Leasing simulators, instead of buying them outright, can cut upfront capital by 40 to 50%, a real option worth weighing against owning the equipment outright from day one. Most operators report reaching break-even somewhere between 12 and 36 months, a real range that depends heavily on exactly the number we started with, how full those bays actually run, especially on the days most owners plan around the least. The hidden trap, the one hiding in an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. A business plan built around Saturday numbers is only half a business plan. Weekend utilization at a typical venue runs around 80%. That's a genuinely strong number, and it's also the easy part. Golfers naturally show up on Saturdays and Sundays without much marketing effort required. Weekdays are a different story entirely. Utilization commonly runs closer to 40% during the week for a venue without a real weekday strategy in place. Run the actual revenue formula, and that gap becomes concrete. Monthly revenue per bay equals hours open times utilization rate times average hourly rate times days in the period. On a typical weekday, that works out to roughly $3,960 a bay. On a typical weekend day structure, it's closer to $4,570. The problem is arithmetic, not bad luck. There are 22 weekdays in a typical month and only about 9 weekend days. Even with a lower per-day number, weekends can't carry a venue that's leaving weekday capacity sitting empty 5 days out of every 7. Fixed costs don't care which day of the week it is either. Rent, loan payments on that expensive equipment, and any staffing you carry all show up on a Tuesday, exactly the same as they do on a Saturday, whether a single bay gets booked or not. The real engine, the one built entirely around fixing the days everyone else ignores, leagues, memberships, and corporate bookings, exists specifically to solve the weekday problem. So, how do the venues that actually work close that weekday gap? Recurring commitments that don't depend on someone deciding, spontaneously, to golf on a Tuesday. Memberships are the clearest lever. A monthly plan running $99 to $299 creates guaranteed revenue regardless of the day, and specifically improves utilization during exactly the off-peak hours a venue struggles to fill otherwise. 100 members at $149 a month is close to $15,000 in guaranteed monthly revenue before a single walk-in books an hour. Weekly leagues do similar work. A $20 to $30 weekly league fee per player fills specific weeknight time slots on a predictable, recurring schedule, the exact opposite of hoping enough walk-ins show up on a random Wednesday. Food and beverage adds real margin on top of bay revenue itself, commonly 20 to 50% of total revenue at well-run venues, with alcohol specifically carrying some of the highest margins in the building. Corporate events and private lessons round out the weekday picture, filling exactly the daytime hours when walk-in golfers are least likely to show up on their own. The real money in golf simulators, weekends were never the problem, and they were never really the opportunity either. The entire business gets decided on the 5 days most owners plan around the least, and the venues that win are the ones who treated Tuesday as seriously as Saturday from the very first business plan. Run the full formula across a real 4-bay venue, and the weekday problem becomes a concrete dollar figure. Combining that roughly $3,960 weekday figure and $4,570 weekend figure per bay, a single bay generates around $8,530 a month from hourly rentals alone. Across 4 bays, that's roughly $34,100 a month, or about $409,000 a year, from bay rentals before food, beverage, memberships, or events are added on top. Push weekday utilization from 40% toward 55%, a real, achievable target operators describe reaching, through memberships and leagues rather than through demand that isn't there, and that same 4-bay venue adds roughly $71,000 a year, without opening a single new bay or spending anything further on equipment. That's the actual lesson sitting inside the math. The fastest path to more revenue almost never means building more bays. It means filling the ones you already have on the days you're currently leaving half empty. So let's run the 2 real outcomes. The optimistic case. You build memberships and weekly leagues into the business from day one, price food and beverage as a genuine profit center rather than an afterthought, and treat weekday utilization as the actual metric that determines success. Weekday utilization climbs toward that 55% range, weekend strength stays intact, and the venue's real annual revenue tracks meaningfully above that $409,000 bay rental baseline once memberships and F&B are layered on top. The realistic case. You open strong, weekends perform exactly as expected, and weekdays are left to walk-in traffic and hope, without a real membership or league program built to fill them deliberately. Weekday utilization stays stuck near that 40% baseline, fixed costs keep accruing every single day regardless, and a venue that looks genuinely busy every Saturday is quietly underperforming its own equipment investment 5 days out of 7. Same bays, same neighborhood, same weekend crowd. The entire gap between those 2 outcomes comes down to whether Tuesday ever got a real plan of its own. So, is it worth it? If you're picturing weekend crowds as proof the business works, that's the easiest data point in the entire model, and it was never the one that determines whether this succeeds. What's true is that this remains a genuinely exciting, fast-growing entertainment format with real demand behind it for owners who build weekday revenue deliberately instead of hoping it shows up on its own. For someone willing to treat memberships and leagues as the actual foundation of the business, not a nice-to-have added later, this can be a strong, durable venue built on equipment that's genuinely earning its keep. For someone building a business plan entirely off Saturday numbers, Tuesday afternoon is going to present the real bill eventually, whether there's a plan for it or not. Last reminder, equipment costs and market pricing shift quickly in this space. This is not business or financial advice. Verify current numbers directly with simulator vendors and local market data before making any decision based on this video. Remember this: the simulator sells the Saturday. Memberships and leagues sell the Tuesday. Build the business around the day nobody's excited about, and the exciting days take care of themselves.